Hong Kong Stock Exchange Directors Training. Responsibilities of directors of companies listed on the main board of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The major sources of directors' obligations. The continuing duties and obligations of the directors of the company are derived from Hong Kong laws, the laws of the company's jurisdiction of incorporation, if not a Hong Kong company, and non-statutory regulations and contract, including the following. A. Common law and applicable Hong Kong legislation, including the Companiesordinance and Securities and Futuresordinance of Hong Kong, the SFO. B. The rules governing the listing of securities on the main board, the main board rules, and the growth enterprise market, the GEM rules, of the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong Limited, together the listing rules, including the corporate governance code contained therein, the code, and the model code of security transactions by directors of listed insurers contained therein. C. The code on takeovers and mergers and the code on share buybacks, the Takeovers Code. D. The declaration and undertaking, Form B of Appendix 5 of the main board rules, which each director of a company listed on the main board is required to lodge with the exchange, and E. The guide of directors' duties issued by the company's registry. 2. Directors' duties. 1. Obligation to ensure compliance with the listing rules. A listed issuer undertakes in its application for listing to comply with the listing rules once its securities are listed on the exchange. Under Main Board Rule 1304, the directors of a listed issuer are collectively and individually responsible for ensuring that the listed issuer complies fully with the requirements of the listing rules. The directors of a company listed on the main board are required to file with the exchange a declaration and undertaking in the form of Form B of Appendix 5 to the main board listing rules, or Form H of Appendix 5 to the main board rules for PRC companies. And the contact information is set out in Main Board Rule 3.20(1). Please see Directors' Personal Particulars and Contact Information. In Form B of Appendix 5 to the main board rules, a director undertakes to A. Comply to the best of his ability with the main board rules and use his best endeavours to ensure that the listed issuer complies with the main board rules. B. Comply to the best of his ability and use his best endeavours to ensure that the listed issuer's compliance with the requirements of Parts 14A in relation to disclosure of inside information, i.e. price-sensitive information, and 15 of the SFO, which sets out the requirements in relation to the disclosure of interests in the shares and debentures of the listed issuer and its associated companies, the Takeovers Code, the Code on share buybacks, and all other relevant securities laws and regulations from time to time in force in Hong Kong. And C. Cooperate in any investigation conducted by the Listing Division and/or the Listing Committee of the Exchange. Any director who breaches any of the above undertakings will be subject to sanctions prescribed by the listing rules. 2. Directors' fiduciary duties and duties of skill, care, and diligence. The rules require directors both collectively and individually to fulfil fiduciary duties and duties of skill, care, and diligence to a standard at least commensurate with the standards established by Hong Kong law, Rule 3.08. According to Rule 3.08, this means that every director must, in the performance of his duties as a director, A. Act honestly and in good faith in the interests of the company as a whole. B. Act for a proper purpose. C. Be answerable to the listed issuer for the application or misapplication of its assets. D. Avoid actual and potential conflicts of interest and duty. E. Disclose fully and fairly his interests in contracts with the listed issuer. And F. Apply such degree of skill, care, and diligence as may reasonably be expected of a person of his knowledge and experience and holding his office within the listed issuer. Main Board Rule 3.08 also requires directors to take an active interest in the issuer's affairs, obtain a general understanding of its business, and follow up anything untoward that comes to his or her attention. Delegating these functions is permissible, but does not absolve directors from his or her responsibilities or from applying the required skill, care, and diligence. Directors' duties are summarized in the company's registry's guide on directors' duties. Directors are required to comply with the guide, and failure to do so may constitute a breach of listing rules. Paragraph 2.8 of Guidance Letter. Statutory duty of skill, care and diligence under the new Companies Ordinance. The new Companies Ordinance, Cap 622, which came into effect on the 3rd of March 2014, codified directors' duties of skill, care and diligence, summarized in paragraph F of the Main Board Rule 3.08. In section 465 (1), the standard of skill, care and diligence expected of directors under paragraph F was considered too low since it used a subjective test. The standard expected was the degree of skill, care and diligence which can be reasonably expected from a person with the particular director's knowledge and experience. Section 465 (2) adopts a mixed objective and subjective test. The standard of care, skill and diligence required is that which would be exercised by a reasonably diligent person with A. The general knowledge, skill and experience that may reasonably be expected of a person carrying out the functions carried out by the director in relation to the company, the objective test, and B. The general knowledge, skill and experience that the director has, subjective test. The standard is higher than previously, since the objective test in section 465 (2a) is a minimum standard and cannot be adjusted downwards to accommodate a person who is incapable of attaining the basic standard of what is reasonably expected of a reasonably diligent person carrying out the same function. The subjective test means that where a person has been appointed as a director because he has some special skill, knowledge or experience, for example an accountant, a higher standard of care, skill and diligence will be required of that director compared to the directors without such special skill, knowledge and experience. While section 465 (2) of the Companies Ordinance does not apply directly to the directors of non-Hong Kong companies, i.e. companies incorporated outside Hong Kong, the directors of a non-Hong Kong company which is listed on the exchange must comply with it since they are required by Rule 3.08 to exercise duties of skill, care and diligence to the standard set by Hong Kong law.